I'm Tom Hubner, President of the Rutland Regional Medical Center. The Rutland Regional Medical Center is the largest community hospital in Vermont. We started back in 1896. We had 16 beds, 8 physicians, 1 nurse. This past year, we took care of nearly 250,000 patients, and we have 1,600 staff, 258 doctors. We are here to serve our community in every new way that is possible with this promise to you. We listen, we respect, we care, always.
Hi, and welcome to Window on Wellness. Today we're going to be at our local grocery store shopping for some ingredients for a few holiday-inspired appetizers that we can bring to a party. With me today, I have Martha Stanley, a local nutritionist, helping me do some shopping. So we're going to get started with some cheeses today.
Okay.
So today we're going to be making some stuffed mushroom caps, great bite-sized appetizers that'll work for a party, family get-together. Really great for the season. Mm-hmm. We're also going to be making a caprese wreath, which is just absolutely beautiful, very festive, really great color with some basil, tomatoes, and mozzarella. So since we're in the cheese area already, we're going to go ahead and look for our cheeses.
Okay.
So we are in the hunt for some mozzarella, some cherry tomato sized mozzarella that will go with them. We also need Parmesan cheese and a blue cheese.
Okay.
So let's see, they have a really large selection of cheeses here. I think Parmesan is here. Let's see. I think if we go for a grated cheese, it'll save us some time.
Save time in the kitchen.
This is going to go in our mixture for our stuffed mushroom caps.
Okay.
So let's go with one of these.
Okay.
I think that looks great. You are my basket holder today. Very handy. It's nice to have some help shopping. Let's move over. I think we have mozzarella over here.
Okay.
And the chilencine, I hope I've said that correctly, is here. They're cherry sized, so that'll complement our cherry tomatoes. Let's see, this is probably, I think 1 is going to do us actually.
Okay.
So we'll go with the 1. And then the other one that we need is a blue cheese.
Blue cheese.
And that's going to go, I think those are that way, and that's going to go with, we're going to do a plate with some sliced pears and some spiced nuts.
Oh, so good.
So we have our mozzarella. See if we can find one that's local to the area maybe.
Okay.
Vermont has many, many great cheeses, blue cheeses especially. I think we looked at this one. This one's Great Hill. This is Massachusetts. So we don't need a huge portion. That looks about right. We'll go with this one.
Okay.
And now let's head over to produce.
Okay.
Mushrooms.
So mushrooms.
I really like to go with the baby bellas.
Yeah, it's an appetizer,
the
right?
small portobellos. It's a small portobello version. This is a really great bite-sized portion. I think these would be great, actually. You can see we have all different varieties. We have a larger version. I think these are going to be a little bit too big for an appetizer.
Yeah.
So I think if we go with a couple packages of these, they'll work great.
Good.
All right, now we just need to look for our basil tomatoes, which, we have tomatoes right here.
Those.
Let's see. So some grape-sized tomatoes. These are from Massachusetts. So keeping with our New England theme, we'll say, for today. I would say let's go with 2 to be safe.
Okay.
And we'll move over to garlic. We're going to use the garlic to go in our mixture for our mushrooms. So yeah, our mixture is going to have garlic, onions, Parmesan cheese. It's also going to have some spinach, so we'll have to look for some spinach in just a few minutes. I really like to go with these that have a little tinge of purple to them. And you want to just look, obviously, for ones that are nice and tight.
So when you get home and you open it up, you don't go, darn.
Darn, exactly. We know it's packaged well. So I think this one is going to work. We don't need a whole lot. I think the recipe calls for 4 or 5 cloves.
Okay.
Let's move over. I saw basil here earlier on my way in. So we want a couple bunches. We're going to use fresh herbs in our mixture for the mushrooms as well as for our caprese. So I think we'll go with 2 bunches.
The basil is going to go in with the mushrooms too?
It is. We're going to have thyme, basil, and parsley for herbs in our mushrooms, and we'll need some for our caprese wreath. So I always kind of like to just look and just be sure that the leaves, basil leaves, as you know, bruise very easily and brown. So we obviously want something that's not going to be too dark. So let's go with these 2. We're going to move on to our other herbs that we need, which are right here behind us. I love these small packages that they use. It's
do too.
just the right amount. It doesn't leave you with too large of a portion that you're not going to use. So that works really well.
That reminds me, Jackie, when you said that, I read recently that as much as 50% of the produce that we purchase, we end up walking into our compost.
Oh, wow. 50%.
So
That's
I love
really surprising.
that these are small packages.
Right, just what you need.
Just what you need.
Absolutely.
So apples, if you're planning on apples, just purchase what you need.
Right.
And I know people travel long distances to grocery stores sometimes, but still.
Right. Buy what you need. That's a great tip. So thyme is going to go in our mushroom mixture.
Mushrooms.
And we want to look for some parsley. I try to find some that we have the produce section which missed the produce.
Yeah.
So I try to find some that are not overly misted, that are not overly wet, so that the leaves don't start to get kind of mushy or slimy. It can happen if they've sat too long or they're not rotated. So this looks like a really nice bunch of flat leaf parsley. We'll use that for our mushroom mixture. And now we're on to onions.
Perfect.
Here we are, onions. Great. So we don't need a very large one. We only need 3/4 of a cup of onion.
Oh, okay.
So these are a really great size. Same thing with the garlic. I like to look for onions that have a nice couple layers of that outer peel or outer skin, free from bruises. It's nice and firm. So I think this will do us really well.
Great.
Now we're on to pears. This time of the year, I love the mixture of the different colors that are available. Maybe we can get a variety.
Let's.
Let's do that. Let's grab a bag.
Nice red one.
The red are beautiful. And I think flavor-wise, they're all going to be pretty comparable. I think nutrition-wise, they're pretty comparable.
Very comparable.
Would you say?
I would say, and it's fun to have different stages of ripeness, you know, where you
Yeah.
have a crunchy pear and then one that just so juicy.
Absolutely. I like them most juicy.
Yes.
That's I like to let them sit and get nice and ripe. I think let's get 3. Let's get one of each.
Okay.
And that'll go really well with our cheese. And this is the last thing that we have on our list. So let's get back to the kitchen and get cooking.
Kitchen. Yay.
And we're back in the kitchen. We have all of our ingredients and we're ready to start our stuffed mushrooms.
I'm so excited to try those stuff.
I think they're going to be a really great addition to your holiday party this year. So we got the baby bellas. We decided on these smaller ones, so they'll be a really great bite-sized appetizer. So the first thing we're going to do is separate the mushroom stems from the caps, because we're going to dice up the stems and put them in the mixture. So some of these will pop right out very easily,
And others are
and others are
challenging.
having a bit of a challenge with, but that's okay. I have a tool for that. So all I'm going to do is just separate these out. And we did go with the smaller ones. We could certainly have used those larger baby, these are the baby bellas. We could have used the larger cremini mushrooms, I think they have.
Okay.
Is
These are
the
just
next
great.
size up, but
Excuse me,
No.
Jackie, but these are just great for a quick bite,
yeah, I think so too.
especially when you have other appetizers to choose from.
Exactly. So we'll kind of adjust our mixture. Certainly if you had the larger ones, you would need just a bit more mix. So I'm going to just take those out. I think the rest of them are going to stay in there. So I'll show you that little tool that I have. So I've got the pan just starting here. Just get a little low heat going. I have the oven already preheated to 350 degrees because we will bake these. This is a great one too because you can easily do this the day ahead. You can make the mixture the evening ahead and stuff them the day that you need them, or you can do the whole dish ahead of time. So this is actually a corer for tomatoes, but as I was going through the kitchen and I really needed something to scoop out the rest of the inside, this happened to work really well.
I have never seen
If-
one of those.
I guess I would say it's similar to a melon baller, and you could maybe even use a
Maybe.
melon baller for this, but
Might work. A knife would be tricky.
you could use a paring knife. You need to be very careful. These guys are tiny. So I did find this little tomato core, and it's doing the trick for sure. So I'm going to just continue to remove the stem.
Jackie, sometimes when I'm out and I'm looking at stuffed mushrooms, I go like, ooh, they look so delicious. And they're usually lots of butter in there. What about this one?
So this is a great recipe because we're only going to use a tablespoon of olive oil totally for fat. It doesn't have butter. We do have the shredded Parmesan cheese that will go in it. We do have some panko breadcrumbs, but as I was putting this together, I did some mixture ahead of time just so we would have it. I think you could easily replace the panko breadcrumbs for some chopped walnuts or any kind of chopped nut that you might
It
like.
would give it some crunch, a little more protein.
I think it would. And it
delicious.
would also make the recipe gluten-free. So if anyone who's on a gluten-free diet, it would be a really great substitute to use some nuts. So I'm going to set those aside, and we're just going to give the mushrooms, the stems, a quick dice, quick chop, rough chop. Doesn't need to be
fine.
anything specific. Mushrooms wilt down so much. They have so much water that they are going to cook right down for us. So I'm going to give this just a quick chop. And then we're going to dice up the onion. We need about 3/4 of a cup of diced onion. And then we'll do our 4 garlic cloves. We'll mince those and get those into the pan. I think that looks good. So again, about a tablespoon of olive oil. And olive oil we need to be a little bit more careful with as it has one of those, the higher smoke point. So we'll I like to do the mushrooms first because they have all of that water. I like to give the mushrooms the chance to get in there first to get the extra water to cook out. So while those are going, about a half an onion is what we'll need.
It's usually about 3/4 of a cup.
3/4 of a cup.
Do you have a preference between yellow and like a sweet?
I love red onions, purple onions, if in a salad, in their raw form. But I use these sweet yellow onions for just about everything else. So I
do too.
I love onions. So to me, I can't. It's hard for me to pick a favorite because it really depends on what it is I'm making. And one thing to think about with this particular recipe is the size of the cutting and the ingredients that you're putting in, just because these are small mushroom caps.
So little.
We're going to want to make sure we do a nice small dice on there so they fit into the mushrooms. So we'll be nice and picky with our cuts. So this recipe is also great because it has a lot of fresh herbs in it.
Right.
So if you remember, we picked up parsley, basil, and thyme. And if you would start working on dicing those, that would be wonderful.
Would love to.
So we have...
How much did you say, about a tablespoon?
We're going to do a tablespoon of each of the herbs. I'm going to throw our onions in. And that parsley is a nice flat leaf parsley. I prefer flat leaf parsley to the curly. There really is not a difference in flavor or taste or anything like that, but just a preference.
Yeah, sometimes that curly, you get a bite and then you got a little...
Yeah, that's a good
texture in
point.
your mouth.
Maybe that's what it is. I do like the flat leaf. I think it's really pretty. I think for garnishing it's really nice too. So I'm just starting our garlic over here.
All these smells. Yummy.
It's a very aromatic dish. Ooh, those onions are strong.
This basil is beautiful. You did a great job picking that
They
out.
had some very nice basil at the store, didn't they? And then we got that great little pouch of thyme. We talked about the portion sizing of that thyme just being a really convenient amount. I know sometimes we get those big, giant bunches that it's hard to sometimes go through. Mince these.
I'm sitting here standing here chopping away, Jackie, thinking about a class that I sometimes do on healthy eating. And this time of year, a frequently asked question is, how do I get through the holidays without some of the pounds adding up on my body?
Right. January creeps up on us quickly after the holidays.
And then you hop on the scale and you go, oh,
Absolutely.
no.
What are some strategies that you teach or that you've experienced over the years that are helpful to people who might be conscious of that?
Number one, I think, is really being aware of the portion that you're eating.
Okay.
And being mindful of the choices that you're making. The other suggestion is to not go to a party or an event starving.
Oh, that is a great tip.
And then sometimes it's even a good idea to, not sometimes, it's always a good idea, to be sure to get some exercise during the day and to eat healthy during the day. It kind of gets your mindset for finishing the day healthy by
Right.
watching portions and, you know, when you're faced with all these dessert choices that look so yummy, to
Yeah.
really think about which one is most appealing to you and try to stick to that one choice. So you don't walk away feeling deprived, but in charge of what's going in your mouth. Mindful.
Right. I love that tip for not going to the grocery store hungry. I am so guilty of going to the grocery store starving, and then I always end up with way more in my cart than I actually need.
Everything looks so good.
So that's a great tip for every day of the year. So what I just did was I have our garlic in there, and I'm adding some chopped spinach to our mixture. Spinach, again, another vegetable, green, that wilts down and has quite a lot of moisture and liquid in it. And so we'll need about 3 cups of spinach. It'll look like a ton, but I promise it will wilt down to
Go right down.
almost nothing. This is actually pretty small spinach. We got some very pretty baby spinach. And that will wilt down nicely. And I just added a bit of salt and pepper, just a little bit, just to season it here.
You're going to be ready for these herbs.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's really what makes a great holiday party, is the little appetizers that you can snack on a little bit throughout the evening. And then if you have maybe that one little bit of, maybe a dessert that's a little more indulgent at the end.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Great. So that is just about together. How are your herbs over there?
They are coming along.
Perfect.
My tablespoons have varied over here. I have a generous tablespoon of basil.
Well, and that's actually a great point. If you like basil a lot more than you like thyme, or you like parsley a little bit more than you like the basil, you can tailor it to your own specific taste. You can omit the basil. You can really make this your own.
Do you smell that thyme over there?
I do. I do. I'm starting to get a little bit of everything kind of coming together.
Okay, I think we're pretty close
Great.
over here.
If you would just throw that right in the pan. I like to put the herbs right in at the end.
Okay, so you're ready?
So I'm ready.
Okay.
Absolutely. I find if you put them in too soon, all those essential oils and all that flavor, it cooks out too much.
Too much.
And especially with basil.
Is this too much?
I think that looks great. Perfect.
And then my thyme is a little skimpy, but
That's all right. Thyme goes great with mushrooms and onions. It's a
so
really
delicious.
classic combo. Great. So we have our mixture here. And actually, one thing I was going to mention is if the mixture looks like it has too much moisture, that's where you could adjust the panko to so it's not too wet going into your mushrooms. But we actually have a great amount in here. That spinach was perfect,
right.
just right. So I'm not worried about that. I do have some mix already made over here. So what we'll add to the mixture to finish it would be our Parmesan cheese and our panko breadcrumbs. But since this mixture is hot, I don't want to add the cheese, otherwise it's going to melt and get gooey on us too quickly before we get them in the mushrooms. So I have some mixture made already here. I've got a nice nonstick pan, and everything is already in here. So the Parmesan cheese we could add once this mixture cools.
Okay, that's a great point. I don't know, I would have thought of it, Jackie.
It's another really great reason that these are easy to do the night before, or certainly make the mixture the day before. So I have, let me see if I can grab a spoon over here. I think you might have some right here. Excuse my reach. And I like to try to just get a little bit of everything in here. Get your herbs in here. And you can use your fingers. It's going to go in the oven anyway.
It's going to go in the oven.
It's going to go in the oven.
Right.
It'll bake. So we have our Parmesan cheese, and the Parmesan cheese is going to melt really nicely.
And you're not going to miss the butter. With that
You really
nice-
won't. You have that
Wow.
little bit of the cheese, a little bit of creaminess there. And we have all of our great herbs and our spinach.
I can't wait to make these.
They're so easy, and they look like you've done a ton of work.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what's so great about them.
Jackie, you could use those bigger portobello mushrooms.
Oh, you
and
absolutely could.
It could be a side for your
Yeah.
dinner. It would be,
It could probably be a meal if you use those
Yeah, you
big
could.
portobello caps, I would think.
you could. It could be a meal with a nice salad.
That's a great idea. We should try that. So I'm not going to do all of these for us. I think you can see where we're going, and I'm just kind of going back in so I have
Room to
more
put-
space.
Yeah.
Yeah. 'Cause these guys are small, but I think that they're really a really cute size. You can certainly sprinkle some extra Parmesan cheese on the top before you put them in the oven, if you'd like, but I think I have quite a bit in here, so I'm good with that. I have some in the oven all ready to go for us, a little swap
Yay.
out. So let me check on those. Perfect. Magic.
Oh, don't they look
TV.
delicious?
So I'll bring those over to you, and we'll talk about the other dish that we have today. I'll see if I can use the spatula. I might end up not being quite that talented. So the other thing that we had worked on over here, we got our basil and our cherry tomatoes, and we did our caprese wreath. So all we did was lay out the basil all the way around. You can pick a nice platter that you like. You can certainly make this larger or smaller depending on the amount of people that you're feeding. And we just laid the basil leaves all the way around. We took our little Cilincine mozzarella and our little grape tomatoes, grape or cherry. I think these were actually grape tomatoes. And I just took some little toothpicks and went them all the way around. And you could certainly garnish this a few different ways. You could certainly do it just this way. You could do a little bit of sea salt maybe, a little cracked pepper, a bit of olive oil. So you could very easily jazz this up even further if you'd like. So we have this, very easy to pick up. And you could even, if you want your whole basil leaf. The other thing that we got were those beautiful pears in our blue cheese.
Right.
And this really, I think I would actually even think this would be a great meal or snack any day of the week, honestly. But we have our sliced pears here. We got each color. And I just went ahead and sliced some of the blue cheese. And I think that really is a pretty nice looking plate to bring to a party. I think it really,
Beautiful. Jackie, it could also be a dessert,
absolutely.
depending on the
I think
cheese
so.
that you choose.
Absolutely. Use my fingers for this. I think so. You could put maybe a bit of honeycomb on the side.
Oh, beautiful.
Or they make these really great fruit purees that you can get right in the cheese section of the grocery store now.
Oh, like fig or...
They have fig, I think they have date. So that would actually be a great way to make it a nice dessert.
Because that is one of the things that I talk about with healthy eating too, is we as individuals can begin to change the culture around food a little bit. If someone asks you to bring a dessert, you could bring something like this. And People would love it. I love the idea of the fig
The puree.
puree
Yeah.
on the side would even make it even more desserty.
Yeah. I don't think anyone would be disappointed with
I know.
some pears and some
walnuts.
beautiful cheese. Vermont has such wonderful cheeses to choose from. You could certainly do any cheese that you like. We just picked blue. If you'd like to try some mushroom, tell me what you think.
Okay, love to. Notice I go for a bigger one.
That's a good thing. Does it pass? Passes the test?
Delicious, delicious.
Well, Martha, thank you so much for joining me. I hope you have a nice holiday, and I hope you've got some good ideas maybe to go on to and bring with you to your next holiday party.
I will.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. This is fun.
This is Shane, my therapy dog. I really enjoy bringing him to Rutland Regional Medical Center because I can just see what it does for the patients. I think we make a lot of people happy and relaxed when we come. It takes them out of really where they are. People I don't even know will say hi to Shane because they've seen him at the hospital. It's like, look, there's Shane. Hi, Shane.